Hello everyone, my name is Paul. Welcome back to A Common Touch of Fantasy. If you're here, somehow I tricked you into thinking I had something important to say about books. But regardless, this is my October wrap up, my top books for October. I read 5 books this October. I actually read the 4 books that I had in my TBR for the first time ever on BookTube. I actually read the books I said I was going to read. Amazing. So, if you would rather read the actual written reviews for these, I'll put that in the description box below. But right now, these are my thoughts on these books, starting with the books that I liked the least, going to the book that I liked the most. So, coming into 5th place is unfortunately Revenger by Alistair Reynolds. Alistair Reynolds is one of my favorite authors. He writes these like super imaginative, world-building, hard science fiction stories that just blow me away with the detail and intricacy of the story, and I love them. But in this book, he tries something different. He does a first-person limited worldview of a young teenage girl and her sister as they board a spaceship for the first time to go out exploring the universe and finding treasure in these like bubble like things that just float in space. Right. So I didn't care for this. I gave this a 2 out of 5. It was just okay. My biggest issue is at the beginning of this book, it just seems all staged. It seems just all fake. It just doesn't seem like like the author or the reader should really take serious what is going on, because it's all just kind of too convenient. You know, these 2 sisters, they want to run away from home. They don't like their home. Their dad and then this doctor are treating them kind of weird, but then they want to escape the home because they want to make enough money to have their dad afford a surgery and operation. And so they join a crew of a spacefaring vessel, and they just happen to have the ability to use these dead alien skulls to pick up communications in the universe. And it's just all very convenient. It didn't work for me at all. There were some great parts in this where there was like an action part where one ship boarded another ship and a bunch of horrible things happened, and the book really changed a lot, but it was just so limited. And Alistair Reynolds, he should not be limited. He should just have his way with books. And I think that first person is definitely not for him. And I also think that I had so many questions about this universe and why this, why that. I just could not enjoy the book enough. So, unfortunately, 2 out of 5. The next book that I liked was We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I love these Penguin Classic Edition books. Classic deluxe editions, because it has like the perforated edges, and I just love to buy them. I have a bunch of books like this. Anyways, amazing cover. Anyways, going into this, I'm expecting like this gothic horror, maybe a ghost story type thing. Obviously, the people don't like these 2 women just by the cover. You know, I was thinking maybe they're ghosts. But what I got instead was this very interesting story about these 2 sisters that are kind of recluses that live in a house on a hill, and all the villagers just don't really like them because they're different, and the villagers just act totally ridiculous towards these people for some reason. I don't understand that at all. It just happens. You don't really get much of a reason. Well, anyways, we basically follow these 2. Their family has died. They were killed, and I guess the villagers don't like them because they blame everyone else that died on them, and they're very like eccentric women, and the young girl, who is the person we see the story from, she's very selfish and self-centered. And it was so hard for me to connect to this story because I just did not like her as a character. She is just so... Well, she's just weird. And she's kind of bratty. And when this cousin comes and visits, she does a bunch of things to this cousin that is just really weird. And my expectations going into it were nothing like what the actual book was. But in the end, I think the book won me over because it's one of those books where you're just going to kind of think about it in the future, and it's going to get better and better as the years go on, and you keep thinking about it, and you keep thinking about how crazy Mary Cat is. Her name is Mary Cat, right? Yeah. Her actual name is Mary. Yeah. Anyways, good book. I wasn't blown away by it, but I think it's going to be good with rereads. I think it'll possibly get better over time. We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. A gothic, unsettling, atmospheric book, not horror at all. Okay, the next book is definitely horror. A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. Scary. I was scared, and so I updated my Goodreads status way too often while reading this book because I just wanted to get on my phone and stop reading because I was scared. Anyways, I gave this around like a 3.75. I rounded it up to a 4. It was a great book. It's great because it's so self-aware. Paul Tremblay knows that he's writing a book that connects to a bunch of movies and other books in the horror genre. He knows what he's doing, and at first you're like, wow, this is basically a novelization of a current horror book. But it changes because the style of the book changes. What it's about is this woman named Mary is telling an interviewer about what happened when she was a kid in this house when her sister was possessed. And back then, they actually did a television show of their family and aired it on TV. It was like one of those, reality TV show, scary things about ghosts and stuff and demons and whatnot. So she's being interviewed in the present, and she's talking about the past when she was a kid, when she was 8 years old. And the majority of the book is about her as an 8-year-old and her sister being possessed. And there's also these blog posts by this woman named Karen that are talking about her watching the television show. And she's doing kind of like an episode by episode blog post about the television show as well. And what's cool is in the blog post, Karen is talking about all the things that the story is related to, all of the movies and books and whatnot. And it's great to see all those references in this book. It's definitely a horror book where you can kind of just pick your own interpretation, and there's a lot of like small little details where you can be like, oh, but maybe she's faking, or maybe this, or maybe that, and different things like that. And so for that reason, I think it's a great book. Rereading this book, I'll probably try to look at it from a different direction and see if it works from that direction. But I enjoyed it. So I give it a 4 out of 5. If you want to read any of the reviews for these, remember the reviews are in the description box below. Next, we have Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. This is a novella by her. I've been wanting to read this for months and months. Everyone really liked this, and I liked it too. I give it a 4 out of 5. Basically, there is this school, and the school is run by this woman that went to another like fantasy world and then came back. And so now she is the headmistress of all these other students that went to these fantasy worlds and came back, because all these students really want to go back to their fantasy world. They don't want to live in the real world. And so they're all in this like school, this boarding house. and she's helping them cope with being back in the real world. And in our story, we follow Nancy, and she's a new student, and she's meeting all the other students, and all the other students are very different. There are many different types of girls and a few guys in there, and it's just a really great, uplifting story. For people that like diverse reads, there's an asexual character, there is a transgendered character, and there are many different women in this book. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. The writing is spectacular. The writing is very fluffy and just fun and whimsical and poetic at times, and I'll definitely read more of Seanan McGuire's work because I really did like the writing of this. And it turns into kind of like this mystery, a murder mystery type thing, and all the kids have to come together to kind of like figure out the murder mystery, and I liked that. I thought that was fun. And my favorite book of the month was Red Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson. I gave this a 4 as well. This was probably around a 4.5 if I was being more specific. Read the written review if you want to check more about this. But basically, this is a book where colonists are going to Mars to colonize Mars. Hard science fiction book and very scientific. And so we follow these group of colonists. There's about 100 of them. Most of them are scientists. And they're talking about how they're going to colonize Mars, what they're going to do with the terraforming versus conserving Mars, to keep Mars the same, but should they change it? And all of the different characters have a different idea of how they should go about ruling Mars and changing things. And it's just a great, very detailed and technical book. My favorite character was Nadia, and she's an engineer, and she just likes to think like an engineer, and she's just a really cool character. She fixes everything, and she has just like a great attitude, and she's highly scientific. Then we have characters that are very political, and they deal with a political aspect of this story. Each section is a different character. They're talking about different things they do on Mars and what they have to do. And it turns into kind of a Mars versus Earth type thing, where the people on Mars don't like that Earth is sending all of these people to live on Mars from all over Earth. Earth is pretty much fighting everybody. Fighting within themselves on Earth. It's very unstable, and so the countries on Earth think that the resources and the money and the minerals and the stuff that Mars will give them will kind of create a more stable Mars. And so it was pretty good. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I definitely recommend it to anybody that reads hard science fiction. Definitely check this out. So those are the books that I read during the month of October. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will talk to you guys later. I'll probably put up a TBR, possibly maybe to read list for November, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram as I talk about other books. I talk about short stories. I take pictures of the books that I read. I take pictures of the books I buy, the comics I buy. I do all those things on Twitter and on Instagram. And follow me on Goodreads as well. Thanks for watching.